My name is Mike Dobbs. You may know me as the managing editor for Reminder Publications, or you may have no idea who the hell I am anyway. But I am the host for this new show called 30 Minutes With, produced by Focus Springfield Community Television. The goal is to take a look at the City of Homes and the Pioneer Valley in a way that hasn't been done before. Now, I'm pretty serious about doing this show, and I'm so serious that I brought my family Bible with me right here to swear some oaths to you, the viewers. Number one, I swear to have fun. That's right, because if I'm having fun, hopefully you'll have some fun watching this. I also swear to be prepared. That's right. When I do an interview with someone, I'm actually going to do some research, unlike some of our other media colleagues. I swear not to swear. Well, not intentionally so much. Things happen. I am a newspaper editor. On today's show, we're going to be talking about dreams. We're going to be talking about two different kinds of dreams, and the dreams that happen at this time of year. Yes, I know it's late January, early February. We should be standing knee-deep in snow, but instead, well, sort of a mild winter. Behind me, you're going to see Indian motorcycles building, and if you're not aware of it, Springfield was the home of the first successful American gasoline-powered motorcycle, the Indian. It's one kind of dream that a lot of guys my age have at this time of year when we're staring at cold temperatures and usually at a lot of snow. Steve Carey and I, my producer, went over to the Springfield Motorcycle Show and got plenty of material for keeping the flame of our youth going in looking at some great bikes. So I hope you enjoy it as well, and maybe it will ignite your flame if you're a geezer like myself. And of course, this is a subliminal plea to my wife. Please, let me have a motorcycle. When I said at the beginning of the show that this is a show about dreams, there's another kind of dream that I think also hits us in midwinter. We're thinking about, could we be our own boss? What is our dream thing that we want to do, the dream business, the dream job? And how can we go about getting to that point in our lives where we're our own entrepreneur? Well, my friend Natasha Clark had that dream, she has that dream, and she's living that dream with her group, the Lioness. I sat down with Natasha to talk about what it's like to take that step away from a steady paycheck from some employer and to be your own boss. Full disclosure here to begin with, Natasha has known me for a number of years, and I think that I helped prepare her for her being an entrepreneur because she was so sick of working for someone like me. She says, I need to work for myself. And what Natasha has done is formed a company called the Lioness Group, which is aimed specifically at women who want to be their own boss. And the magazine supplies them with all sorts of information, hardcore information that they need to know about businesses, as well as profiles of women who are doing it. She's gone from being what most of us are, which is working for the man, to working for yourself. And I know that everybody has that dream. There's always a day where you come home from work and you go, if only I could just drop everything and get that hot dog cart by Memorial Drive, and I'll be doing just fine. But you've done really something significant. You've created a publication. I don't want to use the word niche because I think niche almost sort of makes it makes it sound small. We're talking about half the human race, women, right? Many of whom have that drive and have that idea inside of them that they have a product, they have a service, they want to be their own boss, they have an idea, and they want to develop that into the marketplace. So how long were you thinking about doing Lioness before you took that leap?
Growing up, I always loved like magazine publishing and all that kind of thing, and I always thought, oh, well, if I could ever get into that, that'd be really cool, but fell in love with news and stuck with news. But around 2009 is when we started the Lioness Group, which was doing public relations, working with a variety of entrepreneurs. And it just so happened that I started working with a lot of women entrepreneurs. It wasn't something that was really planned. And I started doing a lot of women conferences and so on, and I noticed whenever all of these women got together, they would always share best tips and practices and what software are you using, and talking about tech conferences and stuff. And I was really naive. I was like, why don't you just read Inc? or Fast Company or Entrepreneur, because I did. And they were kind of like, well, we do, but those are geared towards men. And I had never paid attention to that before. So I kind of went back and flipped through my old issues and noticed that, yeah, from the content to the style and layout, it is geared towards men, though they do feature women from time to time. And got on my handy dandy computer and just started Googling and searching for startup magazines geared towards women, and there weren't any. There's tons of women in business publications for any woman professional, but there was no media outlet that solely focused on women who were looking to launch a startup or to scale a startup. And I was like, maybe I could do that. So I emailed some women entrepreneurs that I knew. I drew up a magazine cover that I thought looked good, Mike. I look back now, it was total crap, but I emailed it out to some of those women entrepreneurs and said, hey, if this existed, would you read it? A bunch of them not only said that they would read it, but that they would help me launch it. And 3 months later, we did a soft launch, because I'm all about execution. I get excited, I want to do it right away. And so that was August 2011, we did a soft launch. Did 1 or 2 issues, went on hiatus, and then came back in 2012 and really started publishing every single month up until now. And I left my day job in 2014, so it was about 2 years from basically really starting it and running it to taking the leap to doing it full time.
How scary was that?
It's still scary. We were just talking before the break, and it's like, I still have my moments where I'm like, oh, this week was one of those moments. But I went to Valley Venture Mentors, which is a local entrepreneur program, and they have an accelerator program as well, and they actually gave me the confidence to take the leap.
What I find very interesting is that, especially in the Springfield area now, we're talking more and more, like with entities like TechSpring, Valley Venture Mentors. We're talking about the Innovation District in Springfield. So the word entrepreneurship is coming up more and more about people who have an idea, have a business plan, have a product, whatever it is, of developing it themselves, starting their own business. What do you see are the things that people really need to know before they quit their day jobs? When Ray Berry was on talking about White Lion beer, he talked about how long he took doing due diligence to really figure out the industry. How important is that for people to do before they take the leap, whatever that leap might be, or whatever business it might be?
So one, I believe that what industry you're in plays a large role in that. If I had sat on my idea for a long time, I would have probably never done it, right? I think a part of being an entrepreneur, again, depending on what your startup is the trying and the failing. Lioness right now looks nothing like Lioness when it first started. And in order to get where we are, I had to produce something. I didn't even know if anyone would read the thing, So I always tell women, just because that's who we're focused on, don't leap and leave your day job like that, but get your idea in the making, get it rolling, depending on what it is. I don't know, if you love making bracelets and you want to start a bracelet company, well, buy your little materials, start making some bracelets. Maybe you sell them at craft shows. Maybe you're at trade booths. Maybe your friends are hosting some parties. Start doing something, one, to see if you're answering a need, and to see if you like it. Sometimes we think we want to do things. How many interns would we have at the Reminder who are like, I am going to be a news reporter? And then they're coming to your desk like, yeah, I don't think I want to do this. Somebody just hung up in my face,
Right.
You don't know until you really start doing it. And so for me, a huge part of it was learning as I go. And so I think sometimes, how many people have thought of the Snuggie? We all have. We live in New England. You're drinking a beer, you're on your couch, you're like, man, if this blanket had a hole in it, but somebody actually went and made it, and they're
right.
It's all about execution. People think that entrepreneurs think so differently, and I know there's the whole debate of, are you born an entrepreneur or can you become an entrepreneur? I think naturally, intuitively, we all think of cool things every day. The difference is the execution. So for me, I believe you have to start executing somewhere. But it depends, again, on what your product is, because some of it does take tons of market research, right? Or you may need funding from the beginning if you have a lot of materials or what so have you that you need to purchase. But I don't believe in sitting on it too long. That's just my my thing.
Your advice is start doing it. Do it on a level that's realistic.
Yeah, and go hang out with some other jewelers. Ask them what they're doing. I mean, for my situation, when I knew that, okay, I want to try lioness, I'm going to get this going. Mike, I would call you all the time like, well, I have a question about this. I have a question about this. I have a question about this. I ask a lot of people a lot of questions all of the time.
People hear these stories, and I think to a certain extent, Shark Tank is responsible. The idea that, you come up with this product and you go before this group of investors, potential investors, and I think that people think of that as entrepreneurship, and I think that that's giving entrepreneurship, the process, sort of a bad rap, because you don't necessarily need Mark Cuban to say, I'll buy 50% of your company for X number of dollars because I see something in it. It's building something. You start at the foundation and you're building your edifice up with your business.
When we have ideas about businesses that we want, we'll say, I'm going to release it to the public when I have X, Y, or Z. Nothing ever happens, right? You end up sitting on the idea. And so I think that it's very important to get it out. You were just talking about Shark Tank and those kind of things. And I think they show the sexy part of entrepreneurism, all the promotional part and the marketing part that you're doing, but not the back end stuff. The cool thing is when I first went to VVM just to check out a meeting and see what it was, there was a gentleman, and I can't remember his name right now, but basically, he said, when you go in the mentoring program, a lot of people think that they're entrepreneurs until they start basically executing it, and you're in the middle of the journey, and they may realize, no, I'm not cut out to be an entrepreneur. And so I think that that's the part that you have to kind of work your way through, the hard part.
Well, that's the acid test. You actually have to do something and see if it really fits and works for you. And it's no sin to find out that maybe it's not the best fit for you and your personality and your skills. It would be maybe a real sin if you quit your job, put a mortgage on your house, and then find out that after expending all that energy with some larger enterprise that it doesn't work out.
And that happens a lot.
It does? Yeah. You've seen it?
Well, 50% of startups fail, right? And so there are tons of people who leave their jobs and leap into these situations, or maybe they're still maintaining a day job and you're pouring all of your money into it, and it may fail, which happens, right? I try to convince myself every day that if it does fail, to be okay with that and to accept it, right? Rather than digging myself a deeper hole. And so sometimes you can end up in a lot of debt, right? Especially people, because funding's not easy to come by. So a lot of people do a lot of stuff on credit cards, a lot of borrowing that maybe you might not be in the situation at the end to pay back. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I'm very impressed with people who are entrepreneurs who take that chance, and they take that chance after they really have done their homework and they're really trying hard. What do you find is the biggest question, or not maybe the biggest question, but the most asked question that people ask of you, of the writers in Lioness about starting? Is there some common question that people come to when they're thinking about being an entrepreneur?
The number one thing I would say is money. People are always asking, where can I get money? Or, I heard that there's grants out there for new businesses. That and marketing seem like to be the top two questions that I always come across.
Do you find that people put most of their money into the production of the idea, and then when it comes to marketing, they don't have the funds to carry through?
Again, this is just my opinion. I think it depends on the company. I've seen small business owners who have put a lot of money into marketing, and then it's kind of like, what do you do again? What are you really offering people? Especially people who tend to be like consultants. Sometimes you're like, well, I thought you were doing something else last week, or it's not really concrete on what they're doing, but they're putting crazy social media and marketing blitz and stuff like that. But then on the flip end, I agree with you. I think that especially if you're a person who you have a tech mindset, you're developing a software or a particular type of product, and you pouring all of your resources into that, which I'm not necessarily saying is a bad thing, but then now when you come up for air and you want somebody to use your app or your piece of software, you're like, holy cow, how am I gonna market this? I don't have any money for it.
Your publication is web-based. It's not a physical-based product. It's web-based. Clearly, you have to keep up to date with social media in order to promote it. How difficult is it for people to manage that social media side for marketing a business? Because there's actually a lot of platforms on which some people expect you to be on. Like you're expected to be on everything in order to reach your various, the various shares of your market.
I feel like do a little bit of research and find out where your audience is and what makes the most sense. And I can't think of the name of it because there's a new app that came out that we just ran a news item about last week. That is a social media platform for entrepreneurs and investors. So there's a space where you guys can collaborate, kind of talk about your projects, maybe find funders or co-founders and that sort of thing, which to me is really cool. It makes sense for me to be on something like that, right? The three major ones that everybody is always on is Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Social media can be very time consuming. I think it's all about scheduling stuff. And then if immediate cool things are happening during the day, then popping those things into your tweets or your Facebook posts, but always scheduling them. I could never run them all by myself. Our editor-in-chief, Caitlin Gendron, actually helps me monitor all of the social media because we're also on Instagram and Pinterest and all this kind of stuff. So it's nice to be able to split it up at least between two people.
But it is a lot of work.
But it's a lot of work and a lot of scheduling, and especially good social media means that you're a part of the immediate conversation because that's what social media is. It's about having conversations now. So that's why there's only so much scheduling you can do. You can't predict what the trending topic is going to be of the day. So it still requires you to have some type of daily interaction with the tool.
Now, I know that you go to a fair number of conventions, seminars, events. What's the reaction to Lioness at those? I mean, are people excited that there's a publication for women entrepreneurs?
So far, it's been really good. When we go, for instance, to the Massachusetts Conference for Women, which we should probably now start getting a booth. I as a startup, I only have so much funds, so I do a lot of foot traffic and footwork going from booth to booth, and the reception's always been really, really good. And I'm also super excited when I meet a woman, she's like, I already know about Lioness. It's like, one lady out here? No, I'm kidding. But it's like, that golden moment that you live for. So, so far the reception's been really, really good. We became a partner with Tech Week. That started as just participating in Tech Week New York, but they loved what we were doing. They said there is no other media outlet for women entrepreneurs and their startups, and so we want to partner with you with all of the Tech Weeks across the country, which was really cool. And then we just became a partner also with Digital Summit Detroit. They reached out to us and said, hey, we loved what you did with Tech Week. Can you do something similar with us? So the word is spreading. It's just getting our butt out there and getting more marketing and spreading the word faster.
Okay, so if people want to read Lioness, how do they do that? You
go to lionessmagazine.com, and we're on most major social media outlets, and even if you just Google us, we'll pop right up.
Okay, great. Well, I'm so tremendously proud of what you're doing, and that sounds patronizing. It doesn't mean to be patronizing.
From my old boss, I'm only kidding.
But you're doing great stuff, and I think that you're really blazing a trail for other women to see what you've done and to be inspired by what you've done and what you're doing, and understand that there's room for a whole lot of business people out there. There's room for a whole lot of entrepreneurs out there with their products and services and their ideas.
Well, I thank you for having me and always answering my questions and taking my phone calls. They will keep coming, I assure you, so thank you.
All right, so go to lionessmagazine.com.
Yep.
And take a look at the latest issue. There's back issues there as well?
Back issues are there as well.
Okay, and if you've got an idea, Lioness may be inspiring you to follow through on your idea. Thanks.
Hopefully, thank you.
In this segment, we're not only going to get the chance of taking a look at some great bikes, but it's going to be a subliminal plea to my wife that, let me get a motorcycle, please. I want to be young again. Okay, well, we're here with Mark of Mark's Motorsports from Enfield, Connecticut. And this is, of course, in full disclosure, an undisguised plea to my wife to let me buy a Spider, because I really want a Spider. My brother has a Spider. Why can't I have a Spider? Mark, what would you tell my wife about a Spider so I can buy one?
Well, Mike, it's one of the most safest three-wheeled vehicles that you can possibly get your hands on. With this bike, it has the stability control, ABS, traction control, and more importantly, with the wheels in the front, it's virtually, you can't flip it or spin it out or anything like that. So it's a very safe bike. And the three-wheeled motorcycle market is the largest growing segment in the motorcycle industry right now. And with Can-Am being one of the safest bikes on the road, we find more people gravitating towards the Can-Ams.
Okay, now I noticed that you have several models here on display, and the one that we're in front of looks like the Super Deluxe here, because it's got the beautiful second seat for an additional rider.
Yeah, this is our RT Limited. Our RT Limited is our #1 seller. It has all the bells and whistles, has the front trunk, rear trunk, both side bags. The windshield's also adjustable, heated hand grips, full stereo system, air ride rear suspension, and tons more stuff. So this is our #1 selling bike. It starts off at around $30,000 in the limited package, but we have other models that start at $15,000 in the sport package.
Is this skewing to an older demographic, would you say? Is it first-time riders as well attracted to the Spider?
The RT typically does attract more of a mature buyer that maybe is ready to go cross-country and retired or whatever. The sport model, we've had kids come in that are 20-year-old kids and buy them. So we have models that attract all buyers, but it is the RT Limited definitely attracts more of a mature audience for sure.
Excellent. So, okay, Mark, I'm going to show my wife this tape along with all the city's residents in Springfield, and hopefully we can do some business a little bit later on. Is that all right?
Sounds like a plan. Look forward to it.
All right. Thanks for your time, Mark. What's the reception of the Indian motorcycle these days, now that it's been around a few years and it's really proven itself?
It's huge. The response here, just at this show alone, you can see we're the busiest booth here. People from Springfield, Mass. love to see the Indian motorcycle back here. This is the home of Indian motorcycle. They were produced here between 1901 to 1953. So I am very proud to bring them back to the Pioneer Valley and make them available to our riding public here. My grandfather worked for Indian for me for 20 plus years, so I have a special spot in my heart for Indian motorcycles. I've been a passionate rider of them and a collector of them all my life, and I'm very happy to be a dealer for the Indian motorcycle brand in Springfield, Mass area.
When people come to look at the Indian motorcycle, now are they comparing it to Harleys, or are they comparing it to the Japanese motorcycles? What makes Indian distinctive in your mind at this point?
Indian motorcycle, we're certainly competing against Harley-Davidson. We're also competing against all your metric brands out there, including the European brands. Indian is the one brand that historically carries that same kind of riding lore, that same kind of legend, that same passion, which Harley-Davidson endears to its riders. If you look at American motorcycling, Indian is really the foundation of our motorcycling. You look at Daytona, Sturgis, Laconia, all started by Indian motorcycle dealers. The first Daytona race was won by Indian motorcycles. Indian dominated motorcycling in America for a number of years. It was at one time the world's largest motorcycle manufacturer. They started in 1901 in Springfield. By 1913, they were producing over 30,000 bikes annually out of the State Street facility. That is huge back then. When you take a look at all the world records back then, the cross-country races by Cannonball Baker, endurance runs and all that, all won by Indian motorcycles. Once again, you got these new ones here, which are being built by Polaris Industries out of Spirit Lake, Iowa. They continue that tradition as far as stability, as far as ride quality, as far as engineering, the whole 9 yards that a motorcycle rider looks for, these bikes embody. They took that heritage of Indian from way back and they've connected that. They've done a heck of a job. It's a great bike. As you can see, the response here is just huge.
All right, you've sold me. Now you just got to sell my wife, okay?
Now this is something I would never try to sell my wife on. Breaking Evel Knievel's record of jumping over 22 cars with Evel's own Harley. Here's Doug Danger paying tribute to his Daredevil mentor.
I'm not really taking his mantle or trying to beat him or beat his records. I set the Guinness Book of World Records in 1991, and that meant I beat everybody in the world. My job with this last jump, when I jumped Evel Knievel's motorcycle over the 22 cars, was I was finishing the jump for him because he had tried that jump. So we were trying to get the record back in the Knievel name and put my name with Evel Knievel's name. Just to be in that category with a great hero like that, it's just a great honor.
Now, we know that Evel Knievel broke damn near every bone in his body. Have you been luckier than him?
Well, I don't know if you want to call it luckier. I've actually broke more bones than he has, so it's not a record I was after.
What is the most dangerous thing that you think you've done so far in your career?
Fighting cancer. I just survived stage 4 cancer. That was probably that was the hardest thing I've ever been through.
That is, congratulations. That's huge.
You know, there's daredevils all over the world that are fighting the same type of battle that I just went through. When people say you got 3 to 6 months left to live, it's something. You can be the most bravest person in the world. You can be a daredevil. You can be a stuntman. You can be anything. But when a doctor comes up and tells you you're going to be dead in 3 to 6 months, it's a really hard thing to take. And I've learned that with the right attitude and just telling cancer it's a piece of garbage and it ain't going to get you, and being more stubborn than it is, that's a secret to it. I think cancer is 90% up here. My doctor, when he told me I was going to be dead in 6 months, and I says, no, I'm not. And he says, I like your attitude. I says, do everything you can, and I'll do everything I can, and we're going to beat this. And he still calls me his walking angel. So
that's excellent. Now, when we talked for an interview for the newspaper I wrote for, you said that you're looking into jumping a canyon, just like Evel attempted. Is that still in the works?
Yeah, there's a gentleman named Scott Truax. It's Bob Truax was the one that designed the sky cycle for Evel Knievel. And Scott Truax, there was a lot of controversy about the canyon jump, that Evel threw the chute out too early, but the fact is there was a mechanical failure. But it wasn't really Bob Truax's fault. They ran 2 test shots. He wanted to do another test shot. Knievel had no more time and he had no more money, so they had to go with what they had. And if they would have done one more test shot, they probably would have made that canyon jump. And that was a big dream of Evel Knievel's. Scott Truax has built another sky cycle, and I'd like to be the guy to pilot that over to Snake River Canyon.
Wow, that would be immense if you were able to do that. That would be incredible.
Well, it would be a dream of Evel Knievel's, and it's been a dream of mine. I never thought it'd be possible, but it's real funny how if you chase your dreams and you never give up, sometimes they just fall in your lap. And right now, after that world record jump I just did on Evel Knievel's motorcycle, I'm receiving a lot of offers. It's amazing that you jump for 36 years, and then when you're 53 years old, you get all the offers in the world. It's like, I'm only going to do so many of them. You know, these world record jumps are pretty hard on a 53-year-old body that has been broken up as bad as mine has. So we're going to try and get a couple more in before I get done with jumping, and Snake River Canyon's one I'd like to get done with it.
Well, Doug, thank you so much. And, you know, what you do is thoroughly amazing. And don't do this at home. Kids, don't do this at home. He's a professional. You're not.
Well, if you are going to do it at home, make sure you have your parents help you and make sure they check things out. Biggest thing I got to say to kids is stay away from drugs. People are dying left and right from them. It's not a cool thing. Evel Knievel had told me when I was a kid not to do drugs. He was the coolest guy in the world to me. If you think what I do is cool, you think I'm cool, stay away from drugs. You don't need them. If you get involved with drugs, you're going to become a loser in life, and it's going to be a mess. It's an awful, awful road. I lost my best friend to drugs 2 weeks after we graduated high school, and it's been a lesson and something I've talked about in all of my speeches that I do when I'm doing motivational speaking in schools and stuff.
Thank you so much, Doug, for your time. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thanks very much for watching this edition of 30 Minutes With. On our next show, we're going to be talking with Brian Hale, the Executive Director of the Bing Arts Center, and we're going to be discussing his efforts of bringing back a grassroots arts organization and venue to the city of Springfield.